Welcome to the non-tutorial painting tutorial on cobblestone bases. I call it that because basically we are just painting rocks today, and all the colors I use here, you can use whatever color you have in your own arsenal at home, so no reason you have to follow this guide verbatim. It's just here for ideas. The figure is a very old Fortress figure 75mm fighter, which I painted on my Twitch stream. Information about that below. And the base is actually from a base stamp that I 3D printed. So we begin with a brown color to cover up the black primer, and that color is going to be important for the areas between all the stones. And then for the stones themselves, I'm using Stonewall Gray and Camo Black Brown. I want a gray color for the stone, but I want a warm color, so we are adding the brown to it. It's always good to add a little bit of brown to anything that's on the earth to, represent dirt, essentially. Next, we are going to highlight twice using pale sand both times. Remember that color, pale sand. We could have used white here, but again, pale sand is like a warm ivory color. It's not going to be as shocking of a color that adding white would be. It's a little bit dirtier, and it's going to give a little bit of a softer, more realistic feel to our stones. Our second color for our stones is olive brown, which I put a base coat down of that, and now I'm highlighting it with, once again, pale sand. We first did our gray color. This is our brown color of stone. Even though it says olive brown, there's a hint of green in it. It's still mostly brown. For the second highlight, I added more pale sand, but that faded the color too much because the pale sand and the olive brown, not the best mix. So to restore some of the color, I added some English uniform as well, which is a kind of a very yellowish brown, has a little bit of green in it. So that prevented the pale sand from fading the olive brown too much. Our third and final color, Camo Olive Green. This obviously is our green color of stone. Now for a true cobblestone street, or whatever surface you're doing, you can do all the rocks the same color, or you can add a variety like this. I would caution against going more than 3 or 4 colors, especially on small bases, because it's going to look too much like a jumble, just a rainbow of colored rocks. You can do it in certain situations, but I usually don't recommend it. Keep it to about 3 colors for the most part. And then to highlight our olive green, once again, pale sand. The reason we're using pale sand each time is because in the highlight regions, that's going to help to tie all the rocks together. So we don't have this solid, a gray rock and a brown rock and a green rock. They're all coming up to a little bit of the same hue by adding the pale sand to each color. Now here comes the fun part. We're going to add a very heavy wash of game color khaki paint thinned with water and glaze medium. Basically a very thick wash that we're putting around all the rocks. The glaze medium is there to slow down the dry time, makes it it's easier to make a wash by adding the glaze medium, and gives us plenty of time to wipe it off if we get any onto the tops of the rocks. The purpose of this is to recreate the sand or the mortar that's normally put around on a cobblestone street, and you can see it really makes the rocks pop when we do this. And then finally is our optional stage. If you want your base to look a little bit more worn and dirty, we can apply a wash here. I'm using a mix of GW Earthshade and Bealtan Green for some dirt and a little bit of mold. Just smearing it on, and you can see it's gonna tie our base together, putting this film of wash over it. So everything's gonna become a little bit more interconnected, all those rocks. And there we go, one cobblestone base. As I said in the beginning, this is a very non-tutorial tutorial. I don't expect you to get all these colors and follow the process exactly like I do, but hopefully you get the idea here of you can highlight rock, paint rocks on a base, a couple different colors, doing a light color mortar between them really makes them pop, and then you have the optional of putting a wash over it to tie all those colors together. And in fact, if you don't want to use the wash, here is another example where I did pretty much the same thing I did with our large knight. However, I used different colors. This was kind of a gray-green color, a medium gray, and a dark gray. And also I didn't put the wash over it, so you can see the rocks look much cleaner. So you can do it either way, whichever you like. So that is about it. Short video this time. Again, we're just painting rocks, but hopefully gives you an idea is you can add a little bit of variety of colors to your bases, even when you're just painting stone. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Rock climbing, Servo.
Rock climbing.
Rock climbing.
Rock climbing crow. Cambot, rock climbing.